everyone's phones on silent. Cool. Happy days. So, hello. Welcome to another episode of Manchester SEO Podcast. We haven't got James today. It is myself, but I'm here with Robert Paxman. Nice to meet you, Rob.
You too. Thank you for inviting me.
So, can you give us a bit of a brief idea of what you do?
Brief idea of what I do then. That's a rather expansive question, that one. Okay. So I'm former SAS. I've worked extensively overseas in hostile environments, and I provide a different level of security. So we're talking about close protection in hostile environments, advanced covert surveillance and intelligence gathering. And what that actually means is somebody comes to us with a problem, and we will help them solve their problem, whereby your usual security company, your usually private detective, or the police are completely lost with being able to solve that problem. So I come along with my team and we pull things inside out and make it better for people.
Perfect. No,
in a nutshell.
Sounds very extreme, doesn't it? So I take it, like, obviously you said you've got a background in the SAS and stuff. Where did you start with that? Did you join at quite an early age then, like, to get all that experience you got now?
Well, I started off life as a landscaper. Then I went into bricklaying. I was a bricklayer. Then came the construction industry crash in the late 80s. I then joined the military, went into the Royal Engineers, spent a number of years in the Royal Engineers, became bored, so I decided to go on SAS selection. I passed first time, which is unusual, and I was the first non-airborne or commando Royal Engineer in 13 years to pass, so I was a bit of a legend in my own naffy break. So from there, I spent a number of years down at Hereford in the SAS, left, and then went and worked extensively UK, overseas, 8.5 years in Iraq, Africa, been all over.
Wow, no, that's incredible.
Had an interesting life.
No, well, I've read about the SAS myself, because I read, is it Bear Grylls did it, didn't he? And I think he didn't get in one or two times, because I've heard about how brutal it is. So did you do, I presume you did that down in Wales? Yeah,
part of it's down in Wales. The hills phase is in Wales, and the hills is marching across the Brecon Beacons with varying different sacks full of weight on. And then from there you go across to Brunei, and then you go into the jungle phase, and then there's resistance to interrogation and a whole load of courses. So the whole course is, the selection process is about 6 months long.
Did you get lucky, or did you have the summer or the winter one? I know there's one or two, isn't there?
I was on the summer one, and it was the hottest summer since, what was it really, 76? 1976 was the really hot summer that I remember, but 95, that's been the hottest summer since 76. So it really was quite an ordeal.
Pretty brutal. But I mean, getting through first time, though, it obviously shows that you know your stuff.
I think there's a bit of luck involved there. You know, you get people that are injured because you're carrying a lot of weight over a lot of distance. You know, it's quite easy to twist an ankle. So yeah, a fair bit of luck involved, but yeah, I managed to get through.
So jumping out of SAS and then, like, obviously all those sort of things, you're now doing your, like, the bodyguarding, I guess, and stuff like that. How did you find, I mean, that sounds like a natural progression. How have you found it in terms of actually getting into that industry? Because you can't just walk off the SAS base and go, right, I'm bodyguard, can you? You've got to obviously set that up as a business and things.
Well, in actual fact, I could, because I was a bodyguard instructor for hostile environments, SAS BG instructor. So I've done a natural progression coming out, and then I came out prior to all the legislation coming in. I get a golden ticket, so I can go forward with the SIA Security Industry Authority registration certification. So it really was quite an easy transition for me. Obviously not as hectic, and obviously a slightly different set of rules as well, because as a civilian close protection operative, running a company, running a team in a hostile environment, you don't have the backup that you would have. So therefore, in many ways, it's a little bit tougher, because you've got to work with the assets that you've got to solve a similar sort of problem.
Yeah, no,
All good fun though.
No, it sounds it. So, like, obviously, very high standards to get into SAS, probably very high standards then to uphold in with civilians. I mean, probably maybe even higher, I'm not sure. But how do you sort of navigate that in terms of, like, do you have to, even the simplest of, like, terms, you must be thinking things down to the 8th degree,
Yeah, well, what makes me very different from the other security companies out there is that I look at things from a criminality or a terrorist perspective, because once you've got yourself into their mindset, then it's easier to work out what the threat is, what the direct threat and indirect threats are, and then how to put measures in place to mitigate those threats. So for me, I see everything through the eyes of the criminal or through the eyes of a terrorist, as opposed to seeing things through the eyes of a manual that they've picked up. So it's a very different perspective for me to look at things.
Do you find that there's a lot of, like, work for this as well? Obviously, you've got a business in it, so there must be enough work. But obviously, as me as a civilian, I didn't see that much.
Yeah.
I might not see the need for it. I don't know where it is, but where do you find it?
Well, my niche is very specialist. As I say, I problem solve for people. So it's everything from I've got a training aspect to this as well. So all of the operational stuff we do for close protection, surveillance, intelligence gathering, problem solving, but we also train it as well. So we've got constant courses running at our training academy. So I'm teaching people how to do it to a higher standard than they can learn, in the civilian environment. There are courses out there, but I really put people through the ringer for this.
No, I bet. Yeah. No, well, obviously, it's got a very high risk. It
can be, yeah.
If anything goes wrong, it's on you, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, and it's not just the health and safety of the individuals working for you. It's for the client, their health and safety, their protection, and also financially as well, because you're only as good as your last job. If you've lost a client or your client's been injured, then it falls back on you. So everything has got to be measured, specific, achievable, all of the usual buzzwords.
Yeah. So do people coming out of the services?
Yep.
Would you recommend this as a job, or do you think it might be a little bit out of the scope for people?
I would recommend it as a task, as a job, if they train with the right people. There are so many different flavours out there. What generally happens is it's really easy to become a training establishment. All you need to do is have 3 years experience, hold your licence for 3 years. So you've got a load of doormen that are coming out, they go and do a close protection course, hold their licence for 3 years, get themselves an education and training award, and all of a sudden they're teaching people something that they know nothing about. And that gives a different flavour. So if you put that across the board of 480 odd companies in UK that are training, how many are actually teaching what you need to know to be able to successfully complete a job? It's either chalk or cheese, either good or bad. It's either a professional or it's somebody blagging their case. So you've got the two ends of the spectrum, and we are the top end of the spectrum.
Wow, nice. No, because it's something that I always hear of anyway, but there's obviously, you don't know, I don't know where people go after they go into the services. It's like a footballer, I guess, isn't it? They get to a certain age and it's almost unhealthy to carry on, isn't it? They need to find somewhere else to go into. So there always has to be something. So there's obviously a lot of people who might want to get into the same industry you're doing. How would you recommend they go around it? Do you think they do need to go and have that time in the forces, or do you think there's another route they could take?
Well, we've got a 50-50 mix that come and train with us. So I'd say 50% are ex-military, former military, and then you've got 50% that's broken down into 225s, which is former police, ambulance services, emergency service personnel, or civilians. Now, from my perspective, we have a lot of civilians that turn up that are actually really good. They're diligent, they're streetwise, they've been around the block, they've struggled. Whereas a lot of guys that come out of the police force and the military, what do they know about being on the street? Because they've spent their time deployed from a policing perspective, which is disconnected from those on the street, or from a military side, where they're on the street doing a humanitarian role or a combat role. It's not the same as coming from the street. So having somebody that's streetwise is a massive bonus.
Fantastic.
So some of the guys do really well.
It's good. It's good to hear, obviously, because a lot of people who probably have that experience where you don't even think to go near it, who might even see this clip and think, "Well, I might be able to give it a go," because they might have thought of it and thought, "Oh no, you have to be at service," that kind of stuff.
No, that's a complete misconception. There's lots of people that try and sell a course, but no, we break down the misconceptions. Yeah, we've made training easy by taking out all of the niff-naff and trivia that you don't need to know.
Nice.
Through experience.
No, that's great. So you must, from your own experience, you must see all these people, Ant Middleton, Bear Grylls, these kind of people who come on things. What do you think of those guys? It's not like trying to get you to say anything bad about them, but what is the opinion of someone who's been in the SAS and then sees these guys using it as their USP?
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? That everybody's got to get on in life. Everybody's got a skill set. Some people are really good on television. Some people's faces are very good on radio. It's it's a mishmash, isn't it? So I've got nothing against the guys doing anything. I actually support them for doing it.
Oh, that's really good good answer. So something I've got to ask: does that mean if you do a lot of this bodyguard work, do you actually get to carry a gun and things like that?
Not in UK.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Not in UK.
Do you find that a lot easier than if you did bodyguard work in the UK and like that sort of thing? Because obviously you did it in America, you don't know who's got a gun.
Yeah.
Whereas as opposed to the UK, it's got to be a little bit easier.
Yes, but it all depends who you're looking after and which venues or locations you're visiting. Now, what we do is we do a complete appreciation of the threat. We identify the threat or threats and break that down and put measures in place to mitigate those threats manifesting themselves. So basically, in essence, that means we're going to identify that if we take them to that bowling alley at this time of day, there is going to be a number of youths there that are going to target or potentially target the principal that we're looking after. So for mitigating that chance of them being targeted, we'd turn around and say, we're not going to take you there today. Something as simple as that. So there's a lot of common sense involved, which is very rare these days. We solve problems for people. And that would be right at the very bottom end of the scale. Yeah. So if you take it all the way through to a corporate level, then it would be identifying what a serious threat is. Is there a threat against life against them? And mitigating that by managing the situation.
No, of course. Now, like I've heard, I don't know if it's something you want to address on the podcast, you got a shooting range? Or you starting a shooting range?
Alan White's very, very good friend of mine. Right next to where we're building the Afghan village, we've got a 100-metre range now. And it's about 4.5 metres deep into the ground with the bund line as well.
Oh, wow.
100-metre range, and we can take anything basically up to 5.0 there. 338, 5.0. There's a pistol range there as well for pistols, section 73, 74s. Yeah, it's really good.
Where's that based?
It's over in Whitchurch.
Nice. Right.
Yeah.
It's not too far for most people in Cheshire then.
No, it's not. No. So we do activity days there, so people can come along and fire different types of firearm, different mechanisms, different styles, different calibers. We also do lots of other type training around that as well, whether it be a self-defense, situational awareness, hostile environments training, surveillance training, awareness days, gap year students. We do all sorts.
Nice. So touching back on earlier, you said about common sense. It is not a thing you find often these days.
Very rare commodity, isn't it?
And annoyingly more so for my age generation as well. There's obviously a lot of stick gets pointed towards things like police force and things.
Yep.
What's your opinion on how police force are handling stuff day to day? Because obviously they're very undercut, but at the same time they get criticised a lot for the way they go around things. Okay.
The major problem that we've got with the police force and the way that they deal with things is pace and ripper. The Police and Criminal Evidence Act, Yeah, Regulatory Investigatory Powers Act. Yeah, Pace and Ripper. Now that basically handcuffs them, ties their hands to what they can and can't do. So from a police perspective, if I believe that you are a criminal and you are implicated in a crime, from a police perspective under Pace and Ripper, I can look at you. I can't have a look at your brother,
Right.
or your father, or your mother, or your sister. But from a surveillance, intelligence gathering perspective, I'm not under Pace and Ripper. We work in the spirit of Pace and Ripper, but I can look at your brother, your sister, your mother, your friends through social media without any repercussions. The police can't. So we quite often get called in to solve problems where the police have come to a complete standstill in their investigation because they can't look at other people. They're not allowed to. It's against the rules, whereas we can. So we work in a grey area in between.
That sounds like it's a bit of a government block that they're getting then. Surely it's like a law that's stopping them in some way.
It is, and it's all down to human rights. So having been in Europe, we ended up going down the route of their legislation and some of our new legislation being tainted by European legislation, which has complicated things. So what the government really needs to do is repeal, have a look at all of the legislation that's there. And some of the rules need to be softened, because how can you run an investigation if I can't look at the person that you're related to, that is actually the criminal that's committed the crime?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's a thing that's talked about quite a lot these days. You know, how things are getting a bit more softer.
Yeah.
And also with generations coming through, there's always this argument of, oh, if there was a war now, are we screwed? Because generations are softer, as people are labelling it. What's your sort of opinion on that?
Well, hard times create easier times, which easier times create softer people, until you get to the point where easy times are taken advantage of by criminality, by change, and then you have a complete change again, because the softer times lead to harder times very quickly. And I think that's what we're going through at the moment. We look at the riots, we look at what's going on in the world, and the soft times of being soft and not clamping down on criminality and allowing people out of prison 40% earlier than they should be coming out. That's making a rod for our own back, and it's only a matter of time before things go south.
So a lot of this is obviously related to, like we're saying about laws and things, big change in Labour government. Do you see that is having any sort of effect on your industry?
Absolutely. There's a much bigger threat now because it's easier to import terrorism.
Right.
If you're not securing the borders, if you've got a property, with a perimeter fence, and you've got people coming into your garden, then that's not securing your property, is it? Well, as far as I'm concerned, UK, United Kingdom, is my property. It's your property, and we're not securing it. We're letting people come into our garden willy-nilly. They're not even recorded. And when they come here, it's okay. Sit down. We'll make a picnic for you. You crack on. You pitch your tent there. We'll put you in a hotel. How can we do this? We're not securing our borders. Other countries are. You don't have any immigration in Poland because they closed the borders. And the people there, if you visit Poland, they're a lot happier. In UK, things are, from a street level, going back to the street level, things are unstable on the streets. Criminality, knife crime is out of control. The police have their hands tied. They can't do anything because of Pace and Ripper. The legislation, they're more likely to prosecute somebody who isn't the first person to report the crime. So you've got a load of narcissism going on at the moment where somebody wants to aggress somebody. So what they'll do is they'll go and report them to the police. They're reporting the innocent person to the police for something that they haven't done. So as soon as the innocent person retaliates, they're then the guilty person. When in actual fact, they've done something to protect themselves. So the whole law, the whole system's turned on its head at the moment, which needs to be addressed. and labour is not going to address that.
So is there any sort of things that you've already started anticipating for the future of your business, how it's going to affect it? But not only what are you doing now to think, oh, we might need to change this up because we might get blocked or so on?
Well, I've got a couple of 100 boxes of 10-man rations, water containers, sandbags. We're all ready for the revolution.
No, it sounds like it.
In all seriousness, I'm expecting, and I have seen, an upward trend in criminality. There's an upward trend in people being taken hostage in their own homes. Violence, theft, burglary, loads of stuff that hasn't been reported, because if you report it, what happens? There's somebody in my house. The police turn up 3 days later. They're not interested.
That phrase you just said, they're not interested.
Yep.
That seems to be the one that gets bounced around more and more at the moment, I've noticed.
They're more interested in ticking boxes. They're more interested in filling out their paperwork, because if they're sat there filling out the paperwork, they don't have to be on the streets policing. If they're on the streets policing, then they're going to have to fill out more paperwork. So they'll fill out the paperwork. They'll take the time filling out the paperwork.
100%.
Because how many robo-cops are out there now? Not very many, because they get closed down very quickly for doing their job. Somebody's house is burgled. Yeah, the police are going to come out in about 3 or 4 days or a week's time, by which time all the fingerprints have been tainted. Yeah, but they haven't acted on the video that they've seen about this particular car with that registration from another area. So there's all these things where we liaise with the police as well, and we help them in their investigations.
Okay.
Because they can't do an investigation themselves anymore. They're only interested in if it's an indictable offence. So an offence like rape, murder, they're not interested in the thefts, the frauds. It's too much paperwork for them, whereas we can get involved, do the donkey work for them, because we've already liaised with the client. We know what the threat against them is, and then we can put the document together to give to the police.
Right.
So we've circumvented the whole system. But if you look at the actual properties as well, so you've got a high net worth or an ultra high net worth that's gone out and bought a property that has a patch of real estate, and it says all over it, come and burgle me. Or I'm just selling my house and somebody's just bought my house, let's say for 5 million quid. Okay. That's been all over the press that somebody's house is being sold. When they move out and the next person moves in, you've got a period of time when whatever security measures they've got there, they're vulnerable. They're moving in lots of valuable stuff. There's lots of valuable stuff being moved out. That gives a criminal a chance to have a look at the property, to have a look at what's being moved in, maybe even have somebody on the inside to go in and have a look around. What happens then? Very quickly, it's going to get to the point where the house is broken into. Run-of-the-mill criminality, you have a house broken into, they're going to break into it when there's nobody there. There's already been in UK, Liverpool, Manchester, Cheshire, Shropshire, all over the place. There are Bernie Ecclestone's daughter. There's been loads of places that have been broken into when there's been people there. They've been tied up. If you look at some of the Albanian, Serbian gangs, some of the other organisations, they're answerable to nobody. They will go into your house, they will tie you up, and they will prune somebody's fingers for the keys. They will steal your child, they will kidnap your child, a family member, whatever it takes to get those keys, so that they can then take the possessions, computer systems, whatever it is. They are very, very well organised. How many of these don't actually hit the press? Loads. Because if they hit the press, it's detrimental. Because the criminal knows that 3 months later, they're going to replace everything that they've stolen. So they'll come and hit the place 6 months later. Because they know that they can steal exactly the same stuff, because it's been replaced.
So building on that, you obviously get things like car thefts. You get your normal break-ins, as you said.
Theft to order.
But as you said, when people then come to ring the police to say my car's gone, And yeah, theft to order. I've heard about it plenty of times. We've worked with a security company as well who does cameras, and that literally is it. That people just think, oh, I'll bung a camera in, I'll bung a system in, and it's and job done. But obviously, that isn't job done, isn't it? So what is it? What needs to happen?
So what happens when somebody is caught doing criminality on camera? Well, the first thing for a criminal to do is put a hoodie up or put a balaclava on, or disable those cameras before they go into that venue or that place. Once they've been in there, what's the reaction time? Who's going to react to it? Are the police going to react to it? Is there a security company going to be called out to do? What are they going to do? So what we specialise in is speaking with the client, working out what the direct and indirect threats against them, their family, their property, their business. We work out all of these threats. We then come up with a plan. In the event that this happens, we can help you by doing this. So when something does happen, and it's outside of their control, they then phone us on a retainer. We then turn up and do the next step or the next phase. For them to work something out, if they hadn't spoken to us, it's going to take a week to find a company, a week to jack up a meeting. This is like 3-4 weeks down the line before the police have even turned up, before they've even started an investigation that they're not interested in. Whereas if we know about the client, because we've spoken to them, we've met them, and we're on standby for that telephone call, I think something's going on, then we're in a position where we can react.
So classically, obviously, you're in Cheshire, you're in Whitchurch, and things like that. But you cover, Cheshire's a very high-profile area. You've got Presby, Audley, Edge, Wilmslow.
Yep.
And the rest of them. I mean, I'm not going to point Crewe out because that's probably where you find where your car's gone. But you've got all these nice areas in Cheshire. The classic thing is, it's almost like you don't call a plumber until your boiler's gone, and then you're in the issue
after the event.
Yeah. Now these people, we're obviously now talking to these people in Cheshire, and further afield. But what is it you want to say to those people who haven't got it, and they're like, oh, it'll be all right. We've got a camera in.
It's really simple. If you've got a house or a car, you're going to insure it against damage, against fire, against theft. What about the rest of the life that's more open? Your family members, your business, your personal security. Is that insured? It doesn't fall under those insurance policies. Your insurance is your taxpayers' money that's going to fund the police, which are not going to respond. Or when they do respond, it's far too late after the event. So we do an insurance policy for them whereby they pay a retainer and we're on standby to ask us questions or for us to deploy a team on the ground to go and solve a problem, whether there's a rising threat against them or the family members, or whether they've seen people in the local area scoping out or believe that they're scoping out for a potential robbery. We can react to that. We go in from a covert perspective or from a very overt perspective, dependent on what the threat is. But once they've paid that retainer, then they've got direct access to a knowledge base. So it's potentially or effectively another level of security, another level of insurance policy. Why not?
So, as you said before, the police obviously get restricted by the laws, maybe even restricted even further soon. You're not as restricted. You have a lot more scope, which is obviously quite a big selling point, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We some of the things we operate in a grey area. We work in the spirit of Pace and Ripper, but we're not bound by Pace and Ripper. So if I want to have a look at one of your relations, if I believe that there is a potential link in criminality, I can look at them. But for the police to do it, they have to suspect that person that they want to look at is involved in criminality and have the evidence to show that they are involved in criminality to look at them. We don't. So there's lots of little nuances like that we can get around the system.
So similar to how the SAS gets described as the get shit done club. Yeah. It's very similar to what you're saying, isn't it?
Exactly.
You are the people who will just go in and do the job.
So simply. I've taken SAS doctrine, I've taken the SAS philosophy, lots of different methods of intelligence gathering, covert surveillance, working behind the lines undercover. We've taken that and we've transposed that onto the civilian environment to problem solve for our clients.
No,
And it's
amazing.
very effective.
That's really good. So with your training, I think training, I just think I'm going to go into a school sports or an hour of someone, a couple hours, someone teaching me level down karate or something.
Yeah.
What are you talking about when you specifically say training?
Well, if we take a close protection course, the basic close protection course is 22 days long.
Right.
The hostile environments course, for those that have got experience in close protection, that are going to go and work in a hostile environment, whether it's armed or whether it's not. A hostile environment could be media backwatching in London, looking after the media in a riot. That's a hostile environment. So we're effectively teaching people how to work in a hostile environment. That's 16 days. Our advanced covert surveillance course, 16 days. We've got undercover and agent handling courses. We've got infrastructure resilience testing courses. They're all generally 16 days long. And infrastructure resilience testing is penetration testing. So you'll take a corporate building, something like, let's say something like a big clothes manufacturer, where they've got a bonded warehouse inside their complex. So we will spend a day looking at the entrances and exits, coming up with a plan on how we're going to infiltrate that building, defeat their existing security. We'll go in there, defeat their existing security, access all areas, including their server room, which is often left unlocked with all of their most valuable data on. We'll go in there and then we'll come out and we'll write a report on how they can improve their existing security.
A bit of a tie-in. If you'd like to introduce yourself, I didn't catch your name.
Yeah, my name's Christian Harland and I work for PSS.
Nice to meet you, Christian. So, Christian is someone who's been working with Rob recently. He's just going to let us know a little bit about his experience with what he's done. So, what is it exactly you worked with Rob on?
Sure. Well, my background is I'm ex-military, 7 years in the military, and I've done 15 years in the security industry.
Nice.
I've done doors, corporate, festivals, everything else. And I wanted to upgrade my security skills from what I was doing in the army. So I looked after people in the army. You protect people as a soldier in the army. So going from there is how do I use my skills from the army in the security industry? Well, it's close protection. So a few years ago I looked into close protection and as you can see in the movies, you think it's these big guys who, big doormen who look after celebrities, and you get a different concept of what it's like in the movies. But when you look around, you can get a bit put off because you think you have to be strong, you have to be, like karate, you have to know kung fu and all that stuff, martial arts. But it's not. So when I found Rob, I was looking for. Firstly, I looked into the other companies, and they were a bit dramatic with it. You need weapon skills, you need advanced driving, and it looked a bit movie-like. And with my skill set and my background, I wanted to learn from someone who actually knows what they're doing. And Rob Paxman being ex-SAS related to me being in the military. In the military, you look up to the SAS and the Special Forces as the leaders in the army, because they're the elite. So why not go and train with the elite? So
Makes
that
sense.
was my step into Rob's world a good few years ago. So I went through all the courses, the surveillance course, the close protection course, the hostile training course, and the pen testing course. And that improved my skills because Rob teaches it a different way than the conventional training centres, which I've looked at and I've been through some of them. I've trained with some of them. And that's given me the skills to look after people now. So I look after a few clients and they're amazed at my professionalism, my way of handling them and way I treat them, the way I look after them. Nobody knows I'm there, and that's the whole point of close protection is don't be seen, don't be overt about it. You're in the background, you're there to protect someone, and they like it. they like that level of confidentiality as well. They
Fine,
don't want
well.
people to know that they've got security. So that's what Rob teaches. He teaches it in a different way where you're there, but you're not there.
Sounds like it's teaching, you know, it's almost like, I don't want to use the word street smarts, but it's almost like how it should be in practice, not how in theory or in the movies they make it look. It's about what actually works as opposed to what looks good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're blending in. You're not in a suit, look at me, I'm a bodyguard. That's not what close protection should be. Yes, there is close protection out there like that, and that's what the celebrities want. That's fine. But when you're actually doing real close protection for somebody who's got an actual threat, and they've, you know, you need to be hidden, but close enough to handle the situation. You need to assess the venue. You need to assess the routes. You need to assess the threats in the room. So people just think you're another person in the room, and that's a good point, and a good part of the training is you're taught this, how to do that, and then you have to put it in practice, obviously, you know.
Yeah.
And it's really good training.
Yeah, it's obviously important, isn't it, to have
Yeah.
that training? Because you don't want someone, as I said, you know, some maybe being an ex-bouncer thinking, oh, I've got this, you know, just do the standard level 3 I did or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, jump in. It's got to be properly done, hasn't it? Properly thorough.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
No.
And that's what our clients want, you know. They don't want the big guy, they want the grey guy.
One who's thinking.
Yeah, who's thinking, who's observing without being obvious, who's just sat there just having a coffee. But all the things are going through the head of what's happening, they know what's happening, they know when to leave, they know who's the threat, they know who's coming. Just sat there and soaking it all in and just being natural for the client. And then when you're leaving, you leave, you know, like normal. You don't, because if you attract attention as a close protection operative, you're attracting the threats from third parties, from criminals, from other people, from paparazzi. So you need to avoid that by not being overt about your actions. So that's why it's successful. Well, that's why it's good training.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's why I chose it.
Nice. And we'll jump back over to Rob. No, it's becoming a more needed thing. I know in data especially, I know people that actually hack other people's companies to test the soft spots.
Yes.
It's like friendly hackers.
Yes.
So you're almost like the friendly, I don't know, break squad, aren't you? So you come in and literally test the defence.
From a technical perspective, if you're doing ethical hacking, brilliant. You can sit in your house and do it. But physically, we're going and physically penetration testing, which is going and blagging your way in.
Yeah.
You know, looking to tailgate somebody through that open door.
Yeah.
Getting into the areas that should be protected, but unfortunately they're being protected by a security guard that's on £7 an hour. You know,
No, it's very valuable work. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking at a different end of the scale. We're looking at people that do have a real time threat against them, and we're giving them real time solutions.
That's great. So on a bit of a flip, how would you measure success with what you do?
Nobody dying.
It's a good one. It's probably the best one we've heard so far. No, that's great. So if you're had a bit of, and this is more on the business level, what business advice would you give to anyone looking to get into business?
Looking to get into business. I would say if somebody's trying to get into business or they're looking to further their business, I would suggest to them that they have a security review of their existing business, the history, the existing business, and where they're going. Because when you get to the stage where you've got a massive business and really poor security, it's a bit late then to be changing things. The easiest way is to develop the security as part of the plan as they're expanding. Not expand all the way and then realise that you're losing half your profits through theft, because they haven't planned properly. Part of planning, part of a business plan should include the security aspect of things.
That was great. And then how would people find you? you know, if you wanted to get in contact?
Well, we're a bit like the A-team if you know where to find us. No, we've obviously got a website, paradigmsecurity.co.uk. We're based over in Whitchurch, but we work all over the country. We work internationally, wherever a client is that needs us. And they know how to find us. They'll come and give us a shout. Come and give us a shout. I think one of the interesting ones might be the gap year students.
Okay, go. Yeah.
So you've got the guys. They've done their bit at school. They've got a gap year before they move on, and they want to go and visit a country. Fantastic. I had one 2 days ago. Yeah, brilliant. The kids are going to go to Kenya. Really? Where are they going? Northern Kenya. Fantastic. That's really good. What about Boko Haram? What about the kidnappings that are going on? What about targeting of, white Europeans? Who is speaking to the kids and giving them that basic level of security knowledge to know what to do and what not to do? Where are they going to sit in the taxi? Where are they going to put their money? How are they going to communicate where they're going on that day? Because if they go missing and they haven't communicated where they're heading to, there is no start point. And Kenya's a bloody big place to start a search. That's just using one country. So gap year student education, we've done a few of these now, is educating people that are going away how to stay safe, how to stay alive. And if it goes wrong, what to do.
Sounds like a bit of a Taken, the movie Taken scenario, doesn't it?
Well, it's not, perhaps not that far from the truth.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I had a similar thing. My wife said to me a while ago, she used to do a lot of things when she'd go out to places, build schools and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she said, I'm going to go to Romania or something like that. And I was thinking, and she goes, apparently we get guarded by a group of nuns who are in good relationship with the gangs around there. I'm like, if a gang wanted to take you, I don't think a group of nuns are going to help you.
No.
I didn't think it was particularly helpful at all. So, yeah, I can see, and luckily she didn't go.
Yeah.
But there's obviously a lot of people who probably did, and again, they might just trust these charities that say, oh yeah, the nuns will look after you, or the group leader will look after you, but who's this group leader,
Who's a security specialist advising that charity that now all of a sudden you're sending your child to a gap year student to a hostile environment, potentially hostile environment? Who's their security advisor? And they're making decisions about your child from a security perspective? That's complete folly.
So it's been really good to have you, Rob. So if anyone wants to get in contact, you obviously mentioned that is Paradigm Security, but we'll have it in the comments below, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Bless you. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Really good.